If you want, leave the lights off. Tonight is not going to be a lecture. Tonight is going to be a morning. Tonight is a night when Zainab is by herself. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله. صلى الله عليك يا حسين يا غريب يا مظلوم. Imam al-Hujjah in his narration in his Ziyaratul Nahiyah, he says, As-salamu ala al-mughassali bidam al-jirah. Peace be upon the one who has been bathed by his own blood. As-salamu ala al-mujarra'i bikasati al-rimah. Peace be upon the one who tasted the spears raining down over his body. As-salamu ala al-manhuri fil wara. Peace be upon the one who has been decapitated. Brothers and sisters, they say Ash-Shimr al-La'in. When he came to the Imam said to him, show me your face. He was covered. When the Imam saw that he had white spots on his face, the Imam smiled. So Shimr says, ماذا يضحكك يا ابن علي? Why do you smile, son of Ali? You're about to be killed. He says, my grandfather told me that I shall be killed by a dog with white spots. They say Shimr got angry. He says, I shall kill you in a way that has never been done before. He flipped the Imam onto his stomach and struck the Imam in the back of the neck 12 times. All the time. And the Imam, yaluju binafsi, the Imam, they say he will pull one leg and extend the other from the pain, Ya Hussein. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. السلام على الشيب الخضيب. السلام على الخد التريب. السلام على البدن السليم. Peace be upon the white hair of Imam al-Hussein that had turned blood red. Peace be upon the cheek that had been covered in the dust of Karbala. Peace be upon the butchered body. Peace be upon the mouth of Imam Hussein, which was beaten by the wood, by the poles. They say when they cut the head of Imam Hussein off, they started beating the head. As-salamu ala al-ra's al-marfu'. The Imam then says, peace be upon the head who has been raised on the top of a spike, or on the top of a spear. Then the Imam starts describing his situation. He says, salutations to you from one whose heart is wounded due to your trials and tribulations and the suffering you went through. Salutations from one who was in distress and grief over what had befallen you. Salutations from one who, had I been present with you in the plains, I would have shielded you with myself, with my own body. And I would have struggled instead of you, Ya ibn Rasulillah, and helped you against the aggressors. And I would have protected you. I would have sacrificed myself for yours, and my souls for yours, and my family for yours. Then he says, فَلَئِنْ أَخَّرَتْنِ الدُّهُورُ وَعَاقَنِي عَنْ نَصْرِكَ الْمَقْدُورُ. But since I have been hindered by the time, I came after you, Ya Hussein. Ya laytana kunna ma'akum. And Allah's decree has prevented me from helping you. And as I could not fight those who fought with you and was not able to show hostility towards those who showed you hostility, I will therefore lament you in morning and evening. I will cry over you. I will weep over you day and night, Ya ibn Rasulillah. And I shall weep blood instead of tears. This is Imam Ma'soom, who does not lie nor exaggerate. He says, وَلَأَبْكِيَنَّ عَلَيْكَ بَدَلَ الدُّمُوعِ دَمًا. Why? Out of my anguish for you and sorrow for what had befallen you until I meet my death. from the pain of the catastrophe that has befallen you, Ya ibn Rasulullah. Ya Aba Abdullah, Ya Hussein. Brothers and sisters, after Imam Hussein fell to the ground, the enemy tried to rush the camp. So he turned to them and he says, وَيَحَكُمْ يَا شِيعَةَ آلْ أَبِي سُفْيَانَ. Oh Shia of Abu Sufyan, you're not our Shia, you're the Shia of Abu Sufyan. If you do not fear Allah and you do not fear the hereafter, then be free men, be Arabs in your life. كُونُوا أَحْرَارًا عُرَبًا. Return to your forefathers. See, would they allow you to violate the sanctity of my household? They say, Shimr said to him, what do you want, O son of Ali? He says, well, as long as I'm alive, leave my women, as long as I live. They say when Zainab Salamullahi alayha could not see him anymore, she came out, she did not know where he was. However, she turned to Umar ibn Sa'd and she says, Ya Umar, يقتل أبا عبد الله. Is Abu Abdullah going to be killed while you're watching him? They say he turned his face from her crying. And he says, who will go and relieve this man of his pain? That's when Shimr did his deed. However, when Zainab started crying, he looked at his cavalry. And he pointed to them and he says, who shall trample the body of Imam Hussein? They say 10 cavalrymen with extra large horses, what we would today refer to as draft horses, trampled the body of Imam Hussein bi abi wa ummi. The narrations say we heard the bones of Imam Hussein cracking under the horse's feet. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. At that point, Zainab called out, Ya Rasul Allah, Ya Aba, Ya Ali, Ya Hamza, Ya Ja'far, but nobody answers her. Then she says, Wa Ghawtha wa Husayna, Ya Rasul Allah, Hadha Husaynuka bil-Ara. This is your Hussein on the plains of Karbala. محبوب مسلوب العمامة والرداء مذبوحا من القفا. He has been taken, everything has been taken from him, his imama, his clothes, and he has been killed from the neck, not from the throat, rather from the neck. وإلى الله المشتكى وإلى محمد المصطفى. It is to Allah that I grieve, and to Muhammad al-Mustafa, and to Ali al-Murtada. They say then the horse of Imam Hussein, anytime somebody wanted to come and touch the horse, it would kick them until it killed a number of them. So Umar ibn Sa'd told them, leave the horse. Let's see what the horse wants. They say then the horse came to the body of Imam Hussein. It came to the body of Imam Hussein, calling out. They call it Sahil in Arabic, calling out. And it was putting its face in the blood of Imam Hussein and moving the body of Imam Hussein. They say when the horse didn't see anything from Imam Hussein, it ran towards the tent. The horse was calling, Al-Dhalim, Al-Dhalim, the oppression of a nation that killed its own prophet's sons. They say when the horse returned, but there was no Hussein on the back of the horse. And the sarj, where the rider sits, was leaning back, where the saddle was off to the side. The night falls. They say when the women saw this, they started crying and calling out, Wa Husayna. However, there was one man that was still in the tent, Ali ibn al-Husayn, Zayn al-Abidin, who could not move, who was ill. At that moment, the enemy charged towards Ahlul Bayt's tents. They say when the enemy charged towards Ahlul Bayt's tent, they ravaged, they burned the tents, they robbed everything. They would come to the woman and they would strip her of whatever she's wearing. They would take her earrings, they would take her necklace, they would even take the rings from her finger. They say Kalthum, the daughter of Amir al-Mu'mineen, was wearing an earring. They ripped it. They ripped her earring off just to get to the earring. Then there was a child by the name of Fatima, the daughter of Hussein alayhi salam, who started running in fear. She was chased down by an older man until he caught up to her. When he caught up to her, he was taking away the ankle bracelet that she was wearing, and crying. She looked at him and she says, how strange are you? Why are you crying? He says, why should I not cry when I'm robbing the daughters of the message? She says, then if you know why we are the daughters of the message, leave us be. He says, no, I can't, because if I leave you be, someone else is going to rob you. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. She says, he robbed me and he left. Then I saw a man carrying a spear, beating the woman, and he had robbed them of everything. When he saw me, he came running at me, so I ran away. She fell and fainted, and then when she came to, Kulthum was sitting at her head crying. She carried her, la ilaha illallah, took her back to the encampment. Then they say, Al-La'in Umar ibn Sa'd and Shimr ibn Dhil Jawshan entered the camp. They came walking proudly, alayhim la'natullah. When they entered the tent, they saw Imam Zayn al-Abidin. Shimr ibn Dhil Jawshan said, who is this? Imam Zayn al-Abidin replied, he says, I am Ali ibn al-Husayn. He says, didn't Allah kill Ali ibn al-Husayn? Imam Hussein had 3 sons, all of them named Ali. So he says, didn't Allah kill Ali ibn al-Husayn? The Imam looked at him and he says, no, I have a brother named Ali that your men killed, not Allah. They say Shimr got angry. He says, and you dare respond to me in that way? I shall kill you right here. Then Zainab stood up and said, Wayhaka ya Shimr, how dare you? Enough the men that you have slaughtered from our family. Oh Shimr, if you want to kill him, kill me before him. They say that she threw her body onto Zayn al-Abidin, not letting anybody come to him. Umar ibn Sa'd came and told him, leave him be. Let the governor of Kufa, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad alayhi la'natullah, deal with him. And then in another narration, they say as they burnt the tents, as Umar and Shimr left, and they burnt the tents, the women started running into the desert. The women started running all around Karbala. However, Zainab stood by the tents. She would not run. A man came to her. He said to her, Ya Amat Allah Nar, oh woman, the fire's in the tents. She did not listen. The second time, he says, the fire's getting close to you. The third time, he says, Waylaki, what is wrong with you? If the fire's starting to burn your clothes. She turned to him and she says, Ya hada, inna lana fil khaymati alil. We have a sick man in the tent. I can't leave him. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. Brothers and sisters, they say that Al-Lu'ana went to the bodies of Ahlul Bayt and decapitated all the heads. But Umar ibn Sa'd came, counted the heads. And then he said, what happened to the infant? Al-Hussein came out with a child. We killed the child. Where is this child? They said, oh governor, oh general, Imam Hussein buried the child. He says, I don't care if he buried the child. Ubaydullah will ask for the head. Bring me the child's head. They said, how? We don't know where he buried him. He said to them, dig the grounds with your spears. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. It wasn't but a few moments, and Al-La'in brought the baby out on a spear. They brought the baby to Umar ibn Sa'd. He says, remove the head from the body. Brothers and sisters, a 6-month-old's head is still soft, huh? Those who have kids know that the top of the cranium is still soft. He told them, put the head on a spear like his father. When they put the head of the baby on the spear, the head would fall. Then they did it again and the head would fall until the head was no more. It was cut into pieces. And they left the body thrown and the head thrown. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. How will these individuals meet Rasulullah on the day of judgment? Then a man came to the body of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and he had been stripped of everything except for his trousers, his under trousers. A man came and he says, I wanted to take the trousers. The Imam has been killed already. He says, I wanted to take these trousers, but the head of Hussein was covering it. So I tried to remove it, I couldn't. I cut off the right arm of Hussein. Then I wanted to remove the trousers, but the left hand was covering it. I wanted to remove it and I couldn't. So I cut off the left hand of Hussein. Then I felt an earthquake and I saw a bright light and I fainted. When I fainted, I saw Rasulullah, Amir al-Mu'mineen and Fatima. And Hussein is with them. While I am laying down fainting, I can see myself, he says. He says, and I saw Hussein speaking to his mother Fatima. He says, Ya Ummah, Ya Fatima, this condemned one, this la'een, has cut off my right arm and my left arm, Ya Ummah. He says, then I heard Fatima in the dream says, oh Allah, make sure that he never eats with his hands, nor never walk on his feet. Oh, and oh Allah, may he become blind, and make sure you take him to the hellfire afterwards. He says, when I came to, I was paralyzed. I couldn't move my hands. I couldn't move my feet. And I couldn't see. Everything she said has come true. And now I sit here awaiting the hellfire. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Brothers and sisters, Umar ibn Sa'd came to the encampment, as we said, and he ensured that no men would harm the ladies of the message. He told them, anybody that harms them, I will deal with him. And he put a guard. They say this night, Sayyidah Zainab started collecting all the kids. However, there was one kid that she couldn't find. So she came out running. Where is this child? Looking for this child. As she's running, she tripped over a body. She looks at the body and she sees that it's the body of her son Aoun. She looked at him, she kissed his body, and then she got up and continued looking until she came next to a body that was covered by spears and arrows, a body that has 1,900 cuts and wounds. A man comes to Imam al-Rida, he says, Yabna Rasulullah, a body can't take that many cuts. The Imam says to him, no, rather know that it was a cut on top of a cut, and a strike on top of a strike, and a wound on top of a wound. To the point, brothers and sisters, that his body looked like a hedgehog. Looked like a hedgehog where nothing can come close to him. And when she came to the body of Imam Hussein, she saw that little girl laid next to her father's body. When she saw her, she says, why are you here, my child? She says, I was afraid. I didn't know where to go, so I came next to my father. But when I got here, I saw that he had no head, and I didn't want to leave him by himself. They say she took the body and she went back. When she went back, brothers and sisters, she started looking around. She says, I can't find the Rabab. Where's the Rabab? Rabab is the mother of Sukayna. Rabab is the mother of Ali al-Asghar, of Abdullah al-Radi'. So she said, where has anybody seen Rabab? Nobody knew where Rabab was. So she came out in the middle of the night and she saw a warrior standing at the tents. She says, who are you? What do you want from us? If you want to scare us, we have been frightened. If you want to rob us, we have nothing left for you to rob. What do you want from us? He says, I have been sent by Umar ibn Sa'd to protect you. She looked and she says, after Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, you protect us? After بعد عين أبي الفضل أنت الذي تحمينا. She says, have you seen a woman? He said, no, I saw nobody. But I can hear wailing coming from a specific area. They say that when Sayyidah Zainab went, she saw a Rabab sitting. She didn't know what a Rabab had in her hand. She came to her, she said, Rabab, what are you doing here? She says, Ya Sayyidati, Ya Zainab, when they gave us water, I felt the milk rush. My child is still breastfeeding. So I thought I'd come to my child. Maybe there was still some life in him. But here he is. He has been killed and he has been beheaded for my baby. Brothers and sisters, Ar-Rabab was forced to go, just like every other woman, to Sham. However, when she returned, she remained in Karbala for 1 year. And she used to say, ثم اسم السلام عليكما ومن يبكي حولا كاملا فقد اعتذر إن الذي كان نورا يستضاء به بكربلاء قتيل غير مدفون. Oh, my peace be upon you. And if I have cried for 1 year over your bodies, I apologize. Indeed, the one who was light for us at night, he was nur for us in the night, is killed in Karbala without being buried. They say when Ar-Rabab went back to Medina, she came to the builder and she says, remove the saqf, remove the ceiling of the house. I want no ceiling in my house. Sayyidah Zainab would come to her and say, Rabab, قومي عن حرارة الشمس. Rabab, don't sit in the sunlight, Rabab, it's going to hurt you. She would say to Sayyidati Zainab, how can I get up when the Hussein, I saw Hussein's body chained by the heat of the sun, la ilaha illallah. These are the women in Islam. The women in Islam, Sayyida Fatima, Sayyida Zainab, Al-Rabab alayha salam, Salama, Allahu Akbar ya Salama. Salama narrates, she says one day, Imam Hassan and Hussein came while the Prophet was sleeping and they played around. So I told them, do not go to your grandfather, he's asleep. But as I got busy, I heard the wailing of the Prophet Muhammad. When I came to him, I saw that his beard has been soaked by his own tears. And Hussein is on his chest and he's kissing Hussein from his throat. I said, Ya Rasulullah, what happened to you? He says, Salama, just now Jibreel was with me. Salama, he told me how Hussein will be killed in a land called Karbun wa Bala. In a land called Karbala. Ya Salama, here is a little jar with some dirt in it, some sand. Salama, know that if this jar turns into blood, then Hussein has been killed. She says, I used to wake up every day and keep an eye on this jar. I was so afraid of this jar. However, one night I went to sleep, and in the sleep I saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa with his hair in a mess, covered in dust and sand. I said to him, Ya Rasulullah, what has happened to you? He says, Ya Salama, I have been digging the graves of Hussein and his companions from the morning. Ya Salama, Hussein has been killed. She said, I woke up from the dream and my eye fell right on this little jar. When I saw that the blood had overflown, had been filled with blood and the blood is overflowing, I called out, Aywa Husseina, Aywa Sayyida. She said, as I was crying, Salman heard me. Ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Abbas heard me crying. So he came rushing. He said, what happened? She said, Ya ibn Abbas, look at this jar. He says, what is this? She says, that is the blood of Hussein. Hussein has been killed. Ibn Abbas told her, Ya subhanallah, today I saw the Prophet in my dream. And in my dream I saw him covered in dirt and sand, covered in dust and sand. And he was picking, he had a little jar in his hand and he was putting drops of blood in it. I asked him, Ya Rasulullah, what are you doing? He said, Ya Ibn Abbas, Hussein has been killed and I am collecting the blood of him and his martyrs and his companions. However, brothers and sisters, in Karbala, nobody collected the bodies. They left the bodies on the ground. Umar ibn Sa'd buried his army, but he left the bodies of Imam Hussein and the companions of Imam Hussein for 3 days not being buried. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Oh, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Ya Aba Abdullah, Sa'adallah qalb Zainab. How does Zainab deal with the children on these nights? A child comes to her and he says, Amma, where is my father? And another child comes to her and he says, Amma, where is my uncle? Amma, where is my brother? Everybody surrounding Zainab. That's why the poet, he says, وَزَيْنَبٌ بَيْنَ أَجْلَاءٍ مُوَزَّعَةٍ تَمْشِي وَمِنْ حَوْلِهَا أَطْفَالُهَا ذُعِرُ. Zainab is walking between the dead bodies, her and her kids, and they are all asking her, where is my father? Where is my uncle? Allahu Akbar, Ya Zainab. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Allahumma bihusb al-Husayn al-wajih wa jaddihi wa abihi wa ummihi wa akhihi wa at-tis'ati al-ma'sumin min bani. Allahumma ajjal farajana. Allahumma ajjal li waliyika al-faraj wal-afiyata wal-nasr. Ya Allah. Brothers, we have a lot of individuals that have become sick with COVID. Please keep them in your dua. We have a lot of brothers that have multiple ailments. Some of our Shia brothers have been targeted in New Mexico and everywhere else for no other reason than being Shia. Allahu Akbar, 1400 years and they won't leave us be. I don't know why. Let us cry over our master. We want nothing of anybody else. Let us weep. It's our style, it's our way. Alhamdulillah, in any case. Alhamdulillah. هون ما نزل بي أنه بعين الله. Imam Zayn al-Abidin said it makes it easy on me to know that Allah is watching what is happening to me. A man came to Amir al-Mu'mineen. He said to him, Ya Ali, I love you. The Imam looked at him and he says, if you are truthful, then then prepare yourself for the trials of this world. I ask Allah that we pass these trials and that we are rejoined with our Imams, inshaAllah. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات وإلى أرواح من أوصانا الدعاء ومن قلدنا الزيارة وإلى أرواح إخواننا المسلمين. One of our friends passed away last night or the night before that. Please keep him in your dua. I ask you to keep me and my parents in your dua, and I shall do the same inshallah for all of you. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. If we can go ahead and cut the live feed for a bit. Can we cut the live feed? أحسنتم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.